Right. But yeah, if you have any questions for the guys, just stick up your hand. I'll be sitting over here and I'll just direct who to speak at first. Yeah. Does anyone want to ask the first question? Archie.
Do you actually use Avid or are they lying to us?
No,
the BBC uses Avid.
Sorry, I was going to say, like, I use Premiere Pro all the time. I learn Premiere Pro,
Yes.
but you've also got DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
But see, if you know them, you know Avid. Like, they're kind of the same. Maybe a bit more learning curve.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
see if you could edit on everything. You do good. That's what I'm trying to do just now.
IELTS studios are using Premiere Pro because a lot of the stuff that we do include After Effects, so Premiere Pro, but Firecrest was using Avid, and a lot of the documentary productions are using Avid.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's like the usual standard. So
That's what they told us, but I was like, there's no fucking way.
yeah.
Bullshit.
yeah, the River City and Outlander both use Avid.
Really?
Yeah, but there are freelance editing jobs that I've seen where they do use Premiere Pro as well.
Okay.
So there's a decent mix. So I don't think it would harm anyone.
Yeah.
I know it's annoying because I hated Avid when I was learning it.
Yeah.
Why can't you click and drag on that
Yeah.
fucking thing? I don't know. But yeah, I think it's good to learn all of it really.
Yeah.
Supposedly, there's one of the editors on Hammer, and he said, because I had a chat with him, and I was like, I fucking hate Avid. I've never felt so much anger over an editing software in my life. And he said he ended up recoding his keyboard, so it meant that he could basically use Avid in the same way that you would use Premiere.
Nice.
So if they're looking for someone like an editor that's just specifically for like Premiere Pro, they will advertise that. So
Crazy when rebuilding a keyboard is easier than using it.
I would say as well. So part of my job, like part of my development, like if you work at BBC, sometimes you get to work in different departments if you want. So I got to do like a week work experience working in the sport department. So for the TV stuff, they used Avid, and I used a bit of that, learned how to use that. But then I made a social media video as well, and I used Premiere Pro. So like, I would say it's kind of probably useful to learn as much as you can about all of them, because maybe you might get in a role where maybe one thing needs something, but something else might need that. You don't want to be stuck where you have no clue how to use Avid. But
Industry is still awaiting someone brave enough to create a vertical video in Avid. Impossible.
I think we'll go to the next question. Paul, sorry. Ian, I'm going to be with Paul, you go first.
So, I assume you're all film media students, so you've done like a joint degree, but for like people here who aren't like their third and fourth year, what modules did you do that you think benefited you in, like, give you that sort of experience?
I did. Okay, what was it called? I can't remember what it was called, but which is not helpful. It was the documentary making one, where you learn like the absolute basics. It was in the third year. It was one of the first courses. Thank you. That one. Thank you very much. That one did help me a lot because they basically gave me the tools to be a researcher. And that one, the ability to communicate and talk like eloquently to people is a huge benefit. Especially over the phone. I had such terrible phone anxiety when like I started working, and it's just something that you have to get over, and that module really helped me because they're just like, they treat you basically just like a researcher, where they're just like, go phone these people, pitch this, do this. So yeah, I would say that definitely is a kind of key resource that you should definitely use, because you do have to interact with the outside world. As much as I hate it, you do have to interact with the outside world, and that does help you quite a lot.
I'd say that even though it's quite a hard module, the content development,
Or is it understood?
it's absolute painful. I did production manager for that, and I did it for my dissertation as well, basically because I was already doing it as a job.
She was a godsend.
So like, when you know how to do a call sheet, it's just second nature. So it's basically what I did in that module was what I do as a job. So once you learn what kind of things you're looking out for, it's just second nature, basically.
I did joint honours when I was at university, so in third and fourth year. Especially in fourth year, I got stuck doing history, which I fucking hated. right? And because I was stuck half doing history, like I honestly I love film and media so much, and obviously it's kind of obvious because I'm doing it professionally. But I hated doing history and having to take those modules. There's also the chance that you might get stuck doing a dissertation in a subject you don't want, things like that. I missed out on that content production. I missed out on loads of stuff that would probably be very, very useful for me to know. So, you know, I would say if you're in a similar position where you're doing joint honours, but you film and media is what you want to do, don't know if this will extend it, but don't stick to it for too long and then regret not doing it. Don't do what I did.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because I did film media and sociology. I found that film and sociology worked quite well together in like the gender gap, and then also we looked into autism and stuff, and I studied all of that, so we spoke quite a lot into sociology about like film and media and stuff. But I can tell you now that if that didn't happen in my first couple of years, I would have dropped the sociology side to stay with the film. So if you can drop, if you're not enjoying it as much and you want to focus on film, I would definitely drop your joint unless you really don't want to.
Awesome. Right, I think we'll go to the next question. Cassie?
For people who are thinking about leaving uni currently and looking at the job market right now, a lot of the job postings seem to require at least 2 industry references to be what looks like considered for the job role. How did you guys all get your first industry credit?
Well, for me, obviously, like your lecturers are gonna help you out more than you might know now. So we'd like to keep that quiet.
Yeah,
Until
especially
then.
Dario. Dario is
Dario
amazing.
is a powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
He'll get you a job. And he'll also be really honest as well. He's like, you're not gonna get one because you're shit, or just not trying hard enough, or whatever. But then if he can see that you're like a student who's really tried and done well, then he's gonna do his best to get you a job. He texted me like a few months ago saying, "Oh, how's the Twig job going?" And I said, "Oh, finishing up." And he said, "Oh, I'll look around for something else. See, I'll let you know if there's anything more." So like, I mean, it might just apply to Dario, but I know Jen Yan is also quite good at.
I didn't actually reach out, but
Never mind.
I to Janie Ann, 'cause I'm more of a sound person. So if I was going to reach out, I'd reach out to Janie Ann, and she did tell me to reach out if I ever needed something, but I wasn't looking over the summer for personal reasons, and when I was looking, I got my job at Bayer, so, but if I didn't get a job when I got it, then I would have reached out to her in about October time.
But I think generally, like, your lecturers are your first like network connection, and they know so many people, so they're like, if you go to them and you're like, I have no idea what to do, like, do you know where I should look? They'll at least point you in the right direction. It's good.
Another one as well, after I graduated in this course, I don't know if anybody's heard of like BEG2 or BEG2 Vision, but they had a course that hit the ground running, which was for like entry-level runners and things like that. And I done that. I never got a runner's job off of it, so I was a bad alumni. But everyone else in that group, you know what I mean, they didn't do it at university and things like that, but through that group, like the connections they made there and the advice that they were given, they all got runner's jobs and they're all working in departments they like in TV. So I would definitely look for that and look for Hit the Ground Running. That's a good one.
Can I also just say Creative School is a really good site, which I didn't even hear about until like 4 months ago. But it's got, like, you go and scroll at the bottom, and then it's got opportunities, and you can like filter it for what you're good at.
I think screen skills is also pretty good.
Also, in general, just Facebook. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
there's
Yeah,
like so
Facebook.
much on Facebook. It's literally the only use for that anymore.
Yeah.
It's bizarre that those jobs on it, especially for drama. There are a lot of jobs on it, and I would say my experience is a bit different, just because I didn't have those connections with like lecturers and stuff to make that initial kind of jump. But once you start getting into that industry, you do make, there are people, like once you show that you're keen and that you're like good and you understand what you're doing and you know what you're doing, people will champion you. That is one of the good things about the Scottish industry, is that it's so small that once you get that first foot in, which is the most difficult part, you will get carried through by the people that you work with. So honestly, in that kind of, and in my experience, the best thing to do would be to volunteer, take the smaller jobs, kind of try and get around the people that you want to kind of be around and do the kind of things you want to do. Even if a job says they want 2 credits, or if they want anything, there's still no harm in just being like, hi, this is like, because this is me, like, hi, this is my CV, this is what I'm interested in. If there are any opportunities, if I can shadow, if I can do anything, like, make these people aware that you are here and that you are keen, because they will find a use for you. Scotland, it's in the drama industry, they're desperate for crew. They're desperate for new people, they're desperate for Scottish crew. On the jobs I've worked in, a lot of the time they hire people from down south, or Ireland or Wales, and they bring them up. So there are definitely places to like be, and just if you show that you're keen and you make them aware that you're there, they will definitely find a spot for you. It's just getting that first foot in is the difficult part.
I'd also say just like apply for everything regardless of what it asks for. If you have the basic skills that they're looking for, there's no harm in still like sending yourself forward, because they might see your name. A lot of these places keep your CV on file, and they'll refer back to it because they might have like a camera up coming up, and they'll refer back and they'll be like, oh, that guy applied, or that person applied from like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago for this other job that he wasn't quite qualified for, but he'd be good for this one. I'll give you a call back for that. So apply for everything that you can find, even if it's not exactly what you want to do, because that way you can jump.
Definitely, I'd say the same. Make up a CV. If you look on, there's a Facebook group called People in TV Runners. They've got like a really basic how to make up a TV CV, because it's slightly different from your regular one. You basically need to just stick to one page. If it's as easy to read that someone can glance over it and go, okay, they've done this, that, and the next thing. Any experience on short films, like I worked on a master's, UWS master's short film over a summer as a producer, and learned a lot of stuff. It was during lots of COVID, it was very stressful, but you do, even something like that, you're learning skills, and also even if you're working in the hospitality industry, you're learning a lot of transferable skills, so you can work in a team, you're thinking on your feet. It's very curriculum for excellence, but yeah, you might not think it's skills that they would be looking for in the TV or film industry, but yeah, just make up a CV and just apply for things. It was a Facebook post that Lion TV put on, and they were looking for either production coordinators or production secretaries, and I applied as a production coordinator because I'd done a little bit of production work on a short film that we worked on, and the production manager, Michelle, if you ever get in contact with Lion TV, Michelle went to Stirling Uni as well. So as soon as she phoned me up and we had a little chat, and as soon as we started talking about Stirling Uni and I mentioned their fee, she was like, "Oh, I used to go to that. That was great." And I was like, "Yeah, I made some short films, fun." So you never know, even just the connection of someone else has been to Stirling Uni as well. But yeah, apply for stuff.
There are a lot of people from Stirling in the industry.
Yeah, so many.
I've met a whole lot.
Yeah. I think there's 4, including myself, at Lion TV just now. So.
Well, even in my job, there's 10 people in my team, and 4 people either went to Stirling or currently live in Stirling. So
we're everywhere.
Then we'll go to the next question. Ellie?
So you know how you were saying an easy way to get in runners? What's an easy way if you don't drive?
I don't drive either. So I'm kind of testing the waters of how far I can get through the industry without getting a driving license. So far, relatively far. So far, I'm not saying that I got anywhere. Depends on the kind of production. I think there are definitely productions that wouldn't hire people who are not driving. I feel like I wouldn't. It would be more difficult for me to get a job as a runner because I'm not driving. Surprisingly, if you're like a technical role, then it might be less of an issue. But like, for instance, when I was at Firecrest, I was working at the Rescue Extreme Medics. This is like a Channel 4 show. And I didn't have a driving license, and they sent me to location to Aberdeen, and it was not a problem because they were able to book me accommodation kind of close enough to where I was filming. And they had someone hired especially for that production, who wasn't driving either and spent like months on location. So it's possible. It is definitely more difficult, and there are certain productions, which is like logical, right? Like, you know, if you are filming, let's say, Love It or Listed, right? And you have to get to all those houses that might be in the middle of nowhere. It is a bit of a pain for production coordinators to accommodate someone who does not drive. I get it. But if you're filming in a studio in Glasgow and you live in Glasgow, they wouldn't mind.
Yeah, if it's for like specifically like floor running or like production running, I would say it's not possible, but it is a lot harder. Like the reason I got my job was because the person who applied before couldn't drive and I could.
Right.
That was the only factor in that decision, which is unfair to a certain degree, but unfortunately that is the reality for runners.
Is there any other like ways that you would suggest?
I think what Stan said, the more kind of like technical areas, so camera trainees, sound trainees, grips, riggers, anything like that, I've rarely seen an advertisement for them that requires a driver's license. So even if you would like to do running on the floor, it wouldn't harm, I don't think, to maybe go for a different department first and then kind of see where you're at and then see if you can move over. A big part of my job throughout the 3 shows that I've done is driving. So, and I think it's the same for floor runners. Unfortunately, that's just, I know that's not what you want to hear.
No, because like I was doing my driving license, but it was just a lot of effort. So
Yeah.
I was doing it because of that. So I was
Well,
like,
then, if you're doing it because of that, I would say keep going. Because, again, in my situation, that was the only difference between me and the other person getting the job, was my driver's license.
Yeah, and also if you don't have a driving license, like this is an extra pain. Like I experienced that all the time. Like I was filming on location last Sunday, and because I still live in Stirling and the location was in Glasgow, the call time was 9:30 and I had to catch a bus at 6:40 a.m. Which was the most kind of absurd scheduling problem. But like, yeah, if I had a car, it would have been so much easier.
Again, I would say, I'm not going to say it's impossible, it's definitely not. There are ways into it, but it just is a harder route. So I would just prepare yourself for that, if that is the reality of your situation. Is all.
If you can drive but you don't have a car, a lot of the time you won't have to worry about that. Like half my job is booking cars, and most of the time they'll prefer you get a hire car because we'll have business insurance on it. That's another thing. If you're wanting to do runner work and you're using your own car, get business insurance. It just covers you completely. Like my brother's a journalist and he's got business insurance. Just means that if anything happens,
I have business insurance and it's
my timing
expensive.
belt blew out on my job.
It's not fun. I'd recommend getting a hire car.
Yeah.
My timing belt on my engine exploded while I was just about to drive up to Aberdeen. So yes, get business insurance.
Business insurance or
Don't go to Aberdeen.
There's a lot of jobs that end up in Aberdeen. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I know.
I think we'll have time for another couple of questions.
Do any of you have like a favourite or TV video that you were involved in that you were like most proud of, or even have good memories of filming?
I done a video called the Dundee Pie Tour, where I went around Dundee, all these different bakeries, and ate loads of free cakes and pies. And I got about 400,000 views, and it was a pretty viral hit on BBC Scotland, so it was a good one for me.
Did you do that by 13?
No, with BBC Social.
Is it AirTV specific? Sorry.
Yeah.
No, just because I was, it's not AirTV specific, but I was the kind of main kind of organizer of publicity for River City. I organised a lot of the still photos and kind of organised the cast and all that kind of stuff. But one of the projects was like social media and doing videos and stuff. And there were, I can't remember specific ones, but just that whole general kind of project that I was given of making social media content and organising kind of like photo shoots of like special episodes and things like that is something that I was extremely proud of, because it was something I was just thrown into, and I just did it, so I was very happy with myself for that.
I'd say my most recent one, Belfast Midwives, that was the first time I got to go on location.
Belfast, this was that good.
I mean, actually, do you know what? So we had to do an extension because we didn't get enough babies. Because turned out you can't schedule babies, which is wonderful. So we had a 2-week extension, and we'd just got the TX date. So the TX date is when a show is going to get shown on TV. So TX date. So we'd just finished up a different show. And I was in Belfast in the canteen of this hospital, and I had to send out loads of TX emails, which was about maybe 60 or 70 of them, basically telling all the contributors that the show was coming out. An hour later, it was announced the Queen had died, and we frantically had to cancel a drone flight that was happening that weekend, and we also had to double check that there was no mention of the Queen in this series that was coming out. You laughed just now, but there was a pound note, or there was a note that was like certain money that was shown on it, and they were absolutely shitting themselves that there was the Queen on it, but there wasn't, because I'd looked at that fucking piece of archive for ages, and it was some artist that was on it. So it did eventually go out on TV, which was absolutely insane. So thanks, Queen. Got a day off though, so. Silver linings.
She got the rest of eternity off, really.
Still not back in Dallas.
We'll go for Zoe, like your favorite ever AirTV video.
Trump 2. It has to be. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The final scene of Trump 2, I think the cinema peaked.
I would say the Emu War that Stan created.
That feels personal.
That's one of my favorites.
I like Consensual Night.
Mine's the Paw Patrol University. Mostly because we kept getting stopped by the same security guard who just kept going up to us being like, "Are you guys okay?" I'm pretty sure he thought we were on something because we filmed in the boys' toilets. I did not go in. We were filming in the boys' toilets. We had George shirtless next to the lock at one point. So yeah, we were getting stopped by this one security guard, and that memory is just a core memory.
You got a taste of it.
You remember now.
I just want to add in as well there, when I said Trump 2 was shite, that was because at the Atlas, that was like my rival film. So that's why I said that. That's not my actual thing. Yeah.
Sorry, we're not laughing at you, there's someone in the door.
No one knows.
She got something?
Open the door. Oh, it's Sam. All right.
Hi.
That's not
I'm so happy to hear laughter, so I just came to see
We just got Q&A going on at the moment. Yeah?
I can't understand the Scottish accent. I'm Scottish as well, but it's a Q&A.
You got questions?
Just asking questions.
Yeah, you got questions. I'll translate.
About film. Film. May I?
Yeah. You have to pick. So what is it, 25 quid a semester? Oh, wow.
Kieran, I think it was your question.
Mine was similarly. It was best days are like best memory or like biggest thing you've learned.
I made best friends, all my flatmates from their TV film, they're my friends for life. When I went to his wedding, it was the best day of my life, and that was on their TV film.
Yeah, like there are too many to count. I think the biggest kind of memorable lesson is I once exported an entire 10-minute film into individual frames. So there still might be some single frames somewhere in the computer. So the fact that I get to do exports right now for a big company is very ironic because I had a rough start, so I would say.
I mean, there's a lot of good memories and stuff, but I think one of the memorable ones, filming for your film, The Guilty, and it's done. It's just a big ad. But we were filming on a hill, and then you skateboarded on you coffined down.
Spoilers.
Sorry. Coffined down a really steep hill, but it's there's a big ass drop that he could have easily died of. But he didn't. Very dangerous. And you can only see it if you watch The Guilty.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Donate to my healthcare fund. 2018.
What was the question again?
Best memory.
Best memory or best thing you learned? Just if you got anything to say. Can I ask you a personal question? Do you remember when Kieran was in your football and we bus wankered those people?
Yes.
I
remember that. Well, again, kind of leading into that, I guess, the best thing that's came out of this is the people, I would argue. I know it's a bit sappy, but again, it's the people in this, I wouldn't be where I am in the industry if it wasn't for the people in our TV. So yeah, I think you need to take value in who you're with and who you're making things with and the connections that you build and all that kind of stuff, because it really carries you through. And when you're in your lowest point in TV, like I have been, and you're just thinking back and you're just like, why the fuck did I do this? You just think of all the people that you work with in their TV and other things, and short films, and the amount of fun that you had, and the hope that you can have that kind of fun again. Not to really shit on TV and where I'm at the moment, but yeah, I would just say the people that you're with, value them and kind of, yeah, that's about it, really.
I'd say, as an old head of events, the socials are really great as well. It's where you just get to let loose and be completely ridiculous. I think I drank a lot of tequila in first year.
Don't let Laurie give you tequila.
Oh, don't. I've got to get the last train tonight, so yeah.
What was the best social you organised?
Oh, one of my favourite, it's joints. Either the, no.
Joints and tequila.
The Joint Media Awards was really great. I don't remember most of that event, so that probably just shows you, that's when Dusk was still alive. And we raised quite a lot of money for the Abby Sparkle Foundation, which was really cool. I think the guy that was there talking about it was very confused by the event, but you know what? And the 18th birthday party, which turned out wasn't the 18th. It's
we found out RTV was founded in 2002, but went on air in 2003.
Do you know what?
I made a thing.
I think that was our last social before the big old panini hit, so that was also sponsored by a lot of tequila. So, but yeah.
Again, probably just the people that I'm friends with now a couple of them I didn't meet at AirTV, Henry, and like I'll still like bump into like Paul at cinema on a random Tuesday night, and
I'll just there too.
actually, he didn't say anything to me though.
I always bump into fucking Archie at cinema.
I know,
I'm
yeah,
a
yeah.
cinema person.
Yeah.
Go to the cinema, look a little bit around. Archie's always there. It's like
Fuck me, I
guess.
Film society.
So many times.
It's nice, and like you can just like text someone and just be like, hey, do you want to do something? And most of the time they'll say yeah, and if not, you'll text them again in another 3 months and be like, what are you doing? But yeah, that, and there's something else I can't remember what it was.
I want to just add the final thing is with the oldest person in this room, right? Is that, you know, I believe.
26.
Oh, mate.
The joke is I'm the old one.
Yeah, that's fine. I would just say, like, enjoy ATV while you can. I mean, that sounds kind of obvious, but once you graduate, you're not going to believe how quickly it vanishes out of your life. Like, you'll still have the people that you're close friends with, but in this room of people, you know, I mean, everyone will move in loads of different places, so just have fun while you can. That's what I was saying.
Just very quickly, as our last question, quick fire, what's your favourite film from Danny? Favourite film of all time?
All time? Consensual night,
Yeah, Star Trek 2.
Single Man.
Next question.
I don't know.
Consensual
Twilight.
night with the Wagons?
What?
Consensual night with the Wagons?
Obviously.
Yes.
There are. Reese?
Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Lauren?
Hot Fuzz.
Caitlin?
Girl on the Train.
Nice. Well, thank you very much.
I have one question. Oh, that's too far. Will you be coming to the Pleasant Video Party later in the month? And also the evening?
Yes.
Remind me of the date,
No.
probably, maybe.
I've just got,
Well, I've got the Union Bill.
It's when?
this question might be shot in the dark, but does anyone have the password for the Braveheart PC? Does anyone have the password for the Braveheart PC?
We called it Braveheart, it's just one of the PCs.
I think Standard.
Yeah, like, which one is Braveheart?
Oh.
We have
The
the
one
one
with the guy on it.
Not the Highlander one, the other one.
Or milk.
If you let me into the media office, I can
Yeah.
check.
I literally
had his
have
hand up for ages.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Just one thing, can I ask the whole line to clarify? See when you said there weren't enough babies and there was a 2-week extension, is that waiting for more babies to be born?
Yeah, so basically,
They go quick in Belfast.
so what you don't, or what I didn't know before going on to a hospital show, specifically when it's reliable on babies being born, it's a really long shoot. So we started filming. In June, and we left in September. So during all that time, there were people being. Well, sadly, not enough people were giving birth during the summer. So, but basically. Yeah, we had like a number of births that we were trying to like get caught on camera. So I think we were trying to get 18. You joke, but it was like we would get a message. There was like 3 group chats. You would get a message saying someone was coming in. Sometimes you would get a call being like, someone's water's just broke, you need to go. And then it was like 24-hour coverage, so there was always, we had 3 groups of camera teams, so there was always someone in the hospital. So if someone was like in one of the labour wards and they'd been in like labour for like 16 hours, you would have and like at midnight they ended up giving birth to their beautiful child. There would be someone there filming. So it was, I think we got up to 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you pay the babies? You're like, what's your name on the form? And you're like, I don't know.
I missed that part. We got first position.
Yeah.
Look into the camera.
Answer any more baby-related questions in the union.
I did not see any of the births, okay? That was
Did you find out where they come from?
If you watch Belfast,
Yeah, guys, thanks so much.